I don't know about you, but if I'm ever cleaning up trash on a beach, this is my nightmare. And it happened to a group of people on Bondi Beach. They're cleaning up trash when there they see something horrifying. Washed up on the shore was a decomposing human foot, still in its running shoe. It belonged to one of Australia's most notorious fugitives, Melissa Caddick, the Bernie Madoff of Australia. She stole more than $30 million from clients who were mostly family and friends, and she spent it on 5-star vacations, fancy houses, jewelry, designer clothes, and just as the law was catching up to her, she vanished in November 2020, and so did all 38 charges against her. So, was her disappearing act just one more con? Hi, I'm Amy. This is True Crime Recaps, the only channel bringing you all the crime in half the time. So if you've only got a few minutes to get the scoop, you're in the right place. And it would mean a lot to us if you gave that like button a little tap and remember to subscribe so you never miss a recap. Now, let's talk other people's money. Melissa sunk her teeth into her first victim in 2012. Her friend Kate was a disability support worker and a single mother at the time. Melissa hit her with a simple pitch. She'd invest Kate's money on her behalf. She already did it for herself. It'd be no trouble to do it for both of them. Well, in Kate's eyes, her wealthy, successful friend who's been featured in reputable magazines wants to manage her money? Yeah, yes please. Win-win. So she liquidated her portfolio and gave Melissa everything. She even got some family members to invest too. But here's the thing. You need a special license to invest other people's money, which, good. And Melissa didn't have it. Bad. Instead, she stole another woman's information and faked it with her credentials. What she was really doing was roping her family and friends into a Ponzi scheme that would have made Bernie Madoff proud. Just in case you need a refresher, a Ponzi scheme is an investment scam where old investors are paid with the new investors' money. So as long as the scammer can keep convincing new investors to sign on, they can keep that con going. And old investors think their money is performing well in real estate or the stock market, but it's really just coming from other victims. So Melissa's victims thought they were saving for retirement, open up their own business, some other dream goal, but they were actually paying for her extravagant lifestyle. She really hit her stride in 2014 when she conned some of her brother's friends into investing with her. We're talking surgeon money. Now, despite only being worth about $600,000, she pretended that her investors' money was hers, and that's how she managed to get herself a $4 million bank loan to buy her dream house. The listing described it as a breathtaking contemporary residence with 5 bedrooms, a home office, and a no-expense spared kitchen. She could even enjoy picturesque harbor views from the comfort of her heated swimming pool. The dream home alone cost $6.2 million. Her and her trophy husband, Anthony, vacationed in New York for Easter, Fiji in the summer, Aspen for Christmas, and when the Aspen snow wasn't up to her standards, she spent $34,000 on an emergency trip to Canada. It was 5 stars. All the time. They traveled by limo, private jet. They only dressed in Chanel and Dior, especially Dior. And she spent $54,000 on shoes and hundreds of thousands of dollars on jewelry. She used investor funds to buy Anthony a $400,000 Audi in 2016. She spent money faster than she could steal it. And she seemed to have no problem fleecing people who couldn't afford that kind of loss. The even stranger thing is that she was a victim of a scam when she was younger. So Melissa grew up in a comfortable middle-class family in southern Sydney. She was ordinary in every sense of the word, but according to her lifelong friend, Kate Horn, the friend Melissa would later rob, she always had that desire to be better than she was. And while big dreams and aspirations didn't put her on the fast track to embezzlement, well, the choices she made along the way certainly did. So after high school, she enrolled in a secretarial and business admin course at Patrick's College, Australia. Its motto was either the best or nothing, and girl, she took that to heart. In the late 90s, she landed an office administrator gig with a boutique investment firm in Sydney. At the time, she began dating a man she met while clubbing in the city, and she fell head over heels, which left her blind to several red flags. But her parents could see them very clearly, and they hired a private investigator to follow her and her new boyfriend after items and money went missing from the family home. Well, the PI discovered that this guy was a con man and she was neck deep in a romance scam. So they confronted Melissa, but she wasn't willing to listen. She ran away with the guy only to return months later in financial and emotional ruin. He maxed out her credit cards and he bailed when the coffers ran dry. Now, Kate and her family assumed that the ordeal had taught Melissa a valuable lesson. And it did, just not the kind they expected. It was 6 months after she landed that investment bank gig, Melissa got caught forging her boss's signature on fake checks. She allegedly pocketed $2,000 before anyone caught on. But instead of going public, her boss cut her a deal. Leave right now, never come back, or we're going to call the police. Had he just called the cops that day, maybe, just maybe, he could have changed the course of history. Melissa finally struck gold in her love life when she married 28-year-old Tony Caddick, a builder from the UK. They hosted a dinner party after the wedding, and a friend remembers looking around their luxurious home filled with these high-end cars and thinking, how'd you do this? This doesn't add up. Because aside from their meager salaries, Melissa's petty larceny didn't fit her lavish persona. I mean, she'd steal silverware and salt and pepper shakers from restaurants and use them at home. In the early 2000s, she hired a personal trainer. Now, through them, she met a well-regarded financial advisor working for Wise Financial Services. The advisor was impressed with Melissa's resume, a resume faker than Beverly Hills Real Housewife. But Melissa claimed to have a Master of Business Finance degree from the University of Technology in Sydney, which is odd since the university has no record of her being there, but no one checked. And she embraced that fake it till you make it mentality better than anyone. Her Wise clients loved her, and she bought a 25% stake in the company after borrowing $750,000. So she's on her way to the top. Every step, though, is coded in one lie after another. In 2003, she even appeared on the cover of a popular trading magazine. The headline read, "A Wise Choice, Australia's Best Planning Practice." A different magazine featured her 8 golden rules for finding the best financial advisor. She even had the gall to say, like any profession, financial planning has unscrupulous operators. She warned readers against pyramid and Ponzi schemes and to always ensure that their financial advisors were accredited, qualified, and ethical, no matter how great a deal might look. Dang, girl, you are really leaning into it there. So she left Wise in 2004, getting back her initial investment. But when people questioned her lavish lifestyle, again, far too glamorous for a simple financial advisor, she spun a couple of lies to throw the doubters off her trail. She told one of her future victims that she left Wise with an $86 million severance package for designing some kind of fund management program. And now that she was independently wealthy, she wanted to offer her financial know-how to help people. And she told another friend that she won a sexual harassment case against Wise, which resulted in this massive payout. In 2006, Melissa convinced her husband at the time, Tony, to go back to school in England after their son was born because he'd studied political science before, but she was thinking, you know what, you would be better with a law degree. So to his credit, Tony went ahead, he completed law school, and he was admitted as a solicitor in the UK. He landed a job in London, and the family moved to Essex in 2010. But she grew bored there. So Tony was going back and forth to London every day while she was staying at home watching her son. So she spun up another lie. And there was, she told him, a conference in Switzerland where she could brush up on the latest financial trends. But she did not go to Switzerland. Instead, she flew to Paris to have an affair with her hairdresser, Anthony Coletti. Anthony still lived in Australia. Melissa had been flying back and forth to see him, and she'd been flying him all over the world for these secret little meetups. But on this occasion, a mutual friend spotted them at a Paris bar and told Tony. So when Tony confronts her, Melissa packs her bags, takes their son, cleans out their joint bank accounts, and moves back home to Sydney, where she, their son, and Anthony, the hairdresser and part-time DJ, set up house. So in 2016, the seams began to crack. It started when one of her clients filed for divorce. He wanted to rearrange his investments so his wife couldn't touch them, but that made Melissa nervous. She didn't want attorneys looking into these investments or, lack thereof. So without warning or permission, she liquidated his assets and returned his money. In hindsight, that divorce probably the best thing that ever happened to him. Her scam really started to unravel in 2019 when a client's wife started asking questions. When she dug a little deeper into the Australian Financial Services license number that Melissa was using, she found out it wasn't hers. And the account that she wanted them to deposit money into wasn't set up right. It was all very shady. And she tipped off the ASIC. That's the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. But like any government institution, these investigations take time and authorities have to be careful where they tread. If they tip the scammer off, you know what? They might never recover that money. So Melissa was allowed to continue. Business as usual. Though 2020 began with another ski trip to Aspen. She met a woman from Sydney there who wanted to invest, but even scammers can't take on too many victims. Melissa said her books were full and they flew back home. But a spot magically opened up when she landed, and the woman from Aspen invested $2.5 million. But here's where fate stepped in. In August 2020, our Aspen investor was sitting in a dentist's waiting room when she strikes up a conversation with another patient. Now, the patient was a financial advisor, so they began talking money. Well, the investor said that meeting Melissa Caddick was the best thing that ever happened to her. And the patient's eyes go wide and she's like, oh no, she was the real financial advisor that Melissa had been parading around as. She warned our Aspen investor that the ASIC was involved and to get her money back right now. She was lucky compared to the other victims. She got her $2.5 million back with $300,000 on top from the investments. Unfortunately, as we now know, that $300K came from someone else's hard-earned investment dollars. Finally, with enough evidence against her, the police kicks in her door on November 11th, 2020, and they started seizing things like it's Black Friday at Walmart. Well, the next morning, Melissa's 14-year-old son hears a door shut around 5:30 a.m., and he assumed it's his mom heading out for her normal run, but she never came back. She left behind all her possessions, including her phone, and nobody saw or heard from her again until her foot washed up on the beach 310 miles to the south on February 2021. It took her husband Anthony 2 days to report her missing, which leads some to think he helped her escape. There are a lot of theories about what happened to Melissa. That's just one. Some believe she jumped from the Dover Heights cliffs near her home, while others wonder if one of her clients took their revenge. Still, others think she faked her own death all on her own. After all, you can survive without a foot, and the rest of her body has never been found. So, is it possible she sawed it off and went into hiding? Yeah. Before her disappearance, the ASIC suspected her of stealing more than $20 million from investors, mostly family and friends. And after she vanished, all the criminal charges against her were dropped because they assumed she was dead and there's no sense prosecuting a missing corpse. Anthony insists that Melissa never stole a dime. He thinks someone killed her or the raid on their home drove her to suicide. Of the millions she allegedly stole, not all of it has been recovered. So the law is trying to sell off all of her homes and clothes and jewelry to pay back her victims. And get this. I told you that she loved her designer clothes. Well, in November 2022, a whistleblower from Christian Dior revealed that for the last 2 years since she went missing, their Sydney office has been holding on to hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen by her, which I really just don't understand. Can someone richer than me weigh in here? How do you give a fashion house money to hold for you? It's so strange. Is this what rich people do? But now they're handing it over and adding it to the victim pool. So what do you think? Did Melissa set herself up with a new identity somewhere? If you come across a one-footed woman in her 50s offering you too good to be true investment advice, call the police, because you might be talking to Melissa Caddick, the mini Madoff of Sydney, Australia.
And that's your recap.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
If you like getting all the crime in half the time, go ahead and tap that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a story.
We're here Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but don't go away. Catch up on more recaps right here, right now.
Until next time, take care.